I personally believe the majority of people who want to be a VTuber are doing it, unfortunately, so they can be lazy and or they're self-conscious about how they look in real life. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you're watching. My name is Nick, aka Static Suppressor. You can find me on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, all the social media platforms. On today's episode, we're talking VTubers. This is Let's Get Real for a Second. Welcome on in. As I mentioned, we're talking VTubers on today's episode. What is a VTuber, you may be asking? If you're in the streaming world, you probably already know, but it is basically a 2D or 3D model of what the content creator or streamer can put out into the social media atmosphere to their audience. So basically, instead of showing their actual face on stream, they are actually doing it through a animated model of some sort. Like I said, it could be a just flat-based 2D kind of cartoon animation, or it can be in more intricate 3D animation that has much more movement and kind of realistic properties to it. And why is this a topic of conversation for today? Well, because VTubers are kind of growing in this space, whether it's on TikTok, Twitch, YouTube. You're seeing many, many more content creators, even those who are on screen showing their real face, kind of taking a step back behind a VTuber model just to kind of shake things up a bit. VTubers are really kind of redefining content creation, bleeding technology and animation into an entertainment kind of structure for the audience. But as a viewer and as a streamer, is that always a good thing? If you look up VTubers and you look up, even if you Google image search just VTuber, 9 times out of 10, you're going to come across more of an anime look, a Japanese anime type cartoon being the baseline for a VTuber. And some people might be wondering, why is being a VTuber becoming more and more popular? Well, there's a few different reasons. I mean, the biggest reason is anonymity and kind of privacy. You'll have some content creators who from day one will present themselves with a VTuber model. So they are essentially protecting their own lifestyle down to what they really look like. So they could be out in public and they could be a huge VTuber creator, but no one would have a clue because they aren't seeing that actual person on camera. That's probably the number one reason as to why people might start taking on a VTuber persona. Additionally, it kind of makes it a little bit more relatable through fiction to where some viewers might take a liking to a specific VTuber model of how it even looks on camera, and then that VTuber can kind of create whimsical experiences based on their model. It doesn't have to be based on Stephanie, who is a 9 to 5, works at home. This can be, Cheyenne, the VTuber model who goes on adventures on a regular basis, and let me relate it to, you know what I mean? Like, you can just create, as many content creators can do already in real life, but the VTuber model really gives you that extra privacy to be able to expose a more whimsical way of life to a fan or viewer who really takes a liking to that culture of the VTuber. And of course, there's the entertainment value when it comes to VTuber. Some people are tired of seeing real people on camera. So a lot of people are going to look for that extra kind of niche, if you will, and then that's where VTuber kind of comes into play, because a VTuber can actually incorporate themselves and their humor into an actual video game. You know what I mean? Like, they could, in the style that their VTuber model is, perhaps they could look like a Genshin Impact character, and then they can kind of play off as if they were in the video game at one point, and almost make it a storytelling experience outside of playing the game itself. VTubers are also very easy to probably collaborate when it comes to an IRL on camera content creator. and maybe even vice versa, which makes it more of a unique experience. It's one thing. It's kind of like think of, if you're this old, think of the movie Who Framed Roger Rabbit, where you take real life individuals and you pair them with animated, cartoon, whimsical individuals, and you have them create content together. Sounds kind of like a match made in heaven from an entertainment standpoint. As a VTuber, you kind of have more technical knowledge, perhaps, than a standard on camera streamer, because you have to get down to the software of making sure everything is running smoothly and that perhaps certain emotions are being reactive on your VTuber model as they are in real life. You know, raising of the eyebrow, smiling on camera, and making sure that the VTuber model smiles on camera, that kind of a thing. But I would consider this a challenge for VTubers because it's a very high entry level point into getting into streaming. Because if you're trying to do this day one, you also run the risk of a bunch of technical issues happening where all of a sudden something goes down on your software and boom, there's your face and you weren't ready to be on camera. You know what I mean? And then it's like, oh my gosh, and that could destroy the experience, and that could actually probably destroy some people's channels just all the way if all of a sudden their face is exposed as the real thing. Of course, another challenge is oversaturation. As I mentioned, VTubing is growing. Therefore, if it's growing, there are many more VTubers out there. The difference is, unfortunately, trying to pair out the real well-known VTubers that you could tell put time and effort into their integrations and software versus those who just slapped on a basic VTuber model and called it a day. And because of that, there's also authenticity questions, because yes, you will have viewers who are really into the VTuber experience and they'll like make up scenarios in their head of, oh wow, I'm like talking to an actual animated character who might pretend like they were in this game. But for the real world people, um, we all know that that person who's behind the VTuber model may not be who they say they are. It may not come off authentic because we can't see your face. So it's much more of a sham to a degree. So you can kind of go both ways with it. I know people who do the VTube model. I know people who don't do the VTuber model, myself included in not doing the VTuber model. I can also tell you the people who are doing it correctly, but the people who are doing it correctly are those who have been doing it for a very long time and really honed in on the technical skill that it takes to do this. Let me show you like an example. All right, so for example, this is a VTuber that I actually naturally came across who I think is doing it correctly. This Twitch partner is Pumpkin Potion. And as you can see, it's a very unique style of how she does VTubing, because she does it from a 1950s type Betty Boop genre, which is super unique in the VTuber industry, in my personal opinion. She also has all the emotions down correctly. She has the movements down, which also allows her production to be much more whimsical in and of itself, too. It's not just a 2D image that lights up every so often when someone speaks, but she has movement. You could see the hair moving when she shakes her head. You could see the mouth moving correctly in how she speaks. Even her eyes and the blinking, everything goes together very well. This is a perfect example of a good way to approach VTuber. To go into another VTuber who I think actually does it super well is Code Miko. Code Miko is someone who actually on occasion, as you'll see, also appears on camera IRL. She's really honed in on getting VTuber model and mechanics down for motion activated full body scans. This is an awesome approach because of how she's able to integrate in many different programs. This is much more of almost like an educational experience, I feel like on occasion, than just a quick entertainment, watch this avatar play a video game. You know what I mean? So the way that she is able to kind of control her VTuber style like this is impressive to me. I mean, this is super impressive. I don't know how people, this is the kind of VTuber, if someone is trying to get into it, that they should want to become. This is the goal. Now, I can also tell you this is a personal bias, okay? I'm allowed to throw my personal opinion in here. There are some other creators who I don't think are all that entertaining, based on their VTuber model and comes off kind of basic, in my opinion. To give you a quick example, you might have heard of this content creator before. This is Iron Mouse. Iron Mouse recently, last year, 2023, won Content Creator of the Year. So she was named Content Creator of the Year as a VTuber. Now, as you can see, this is her VTuber model. I don't know. This really hits on that Japanese style VTuber, in my opinion. Maybe that's why it's so popular too, and maybe that's why people like Code Miko or Pumpkin Potion they aren't seen as successful as Iron Mouse, but maybe that's because of the style of VTuber. That's really the only thing I can think on. Of course, they all have collaborations. Iron Mouse recently did a collaboration stream with Kai Cenat, which did really well. But I see this, and it's a good VTuber model, but as an IRL streamer who really isn't into the whole VTuber experience, I don't find this to be very unique. But that's just me. And again, some people are maybe wondering, well, why does someone even think about getting into being a VTuber to begin with? Outside of the technical standpoint and the privacy standpoint, what could there be? I personally believe the majority of people who want to be a VTuber are doing it, unfortunately, so they can be lazy and or they're self-conscious about how they look in real life. Now, technically, there's nothing wrong with either of those options, okay? But it really goes to show in their production value if they remain having that same production model over years of time, right? So if you have someone who has a 2D VTuber model, okay, and it's one of those basic ones that just like light up when the person speaks and that's it, and they've been doing that for years, I feel like it's more or less just a mask at that point because they are self-conscious maybe about how they look on camera, which again is okay as long as they are very upfront about that, right? But also some people they just don't want to like get ready to be on camera and whatnot. But again, going back to my earlier point, if you end up having some sort of technical issue as a VTuber and your camera suddenly showcases what you look like and how you are in real life at that moment, you could be caught in a very precarious situation. So when you are streaming, whether you have a VTuber or not, when it comes to that model, always dress as if you're going to be shown on camera in real life. Don't want to be caught with your pants off. Let's put it that way. And for anyone whose initial reaction might be to discredit and be like, no, 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 that's a lie. You don't know what you're talking about. No one is being a VTuber because they're either lazy or because they're self-conscious. I'm going to read for you a passage that someone left in a Discord that I'm a part of. I'm not going to mention their name, but it brings up a really good point. This person ended up saying, I've been so stuck on whether I want to keep being my VTuber or just have a regular face cam. Because when I'm my alter ego, I feel like I have a lot more confidence in how I speak and my gameplay wise. Plus, it allows me to be however and whoever I want. But I also feel like it deters people away because they don't want to see an animated cat boy. I don't know. I've just been so stuck on what I want to do recently. I think that person kind of hit it on the head. I know who they are. I've seen them. They do IRL streams and they do VTuber streams. Now, again, I'm biased. I prefer IRL on camera streams where I can see your facial reactions. You want to know why? The biggest thing, in my opinion, is let's say you're a viewer, you find a VTuber you really enjoy. You gift them 10 subs, right? You gift them 10 subs, little alert pops up, and you hear from the VTuber that's a 2D light up face, and it goes, oh wow, thank you so much. I greatly appreciate that. Thank you, right? In my opinion, it takes away from like the reaction. Whereas if you gift like 10 subs to an IRL streamer who is on camera and you can see their facial reactions, those pauses that the VTuber might have actually come off a bit different if you were an IRL streamer. Oh my god, thank you so much for the 10 gifted subs. That is insane. That comes out to be your 200th gifted sub to the channel. Greatly appreciate it. Again, you're a real one, and I appreciate you. Let me shoot off like a popper for you. Let me see lights in the background happening. For me, I have a bubble machine that hits my whole entire stream on camera when someone gives me subs. It's meant to be more of a production too. You want it to be a feel good experience in both ways, right? At the end of the day, if you are a streamer, you can choose to whatever you want to do, be a VTuber, be an on camera, shown face streamer or content creator. But if you go the VTuber route, my personal opinion is to really research and see where you can take that VTuber model to the next level. Because I'm not saying that when you start your VTuber experience that you have to be a Code Miko or a Pumpkin Potion right out the gate. Of course, you're gonna maybe start with the basic 2D model because it does become quite the financial investment to really get to that next level of VTuber showmanship. That's fine. Start off small with it, but give yourself like a 5-year plan. Like I'm starting with a 2D model. In 5 years, because I'm really passionate about content creation and streaming, I want that model to be a 3D model and I want it to have facial recognition so it can really capture my emotions on camera. I hope you've enjoyed this discussion on VTuber content creation and the rise and kind of the pluses and minuses of where it lands. And until next time, this has been Nick, aka Stack Suppressor, signing off on Let's Get Real for a second. See ya.